KORK North Bay, your source for news and happenings throughout the North Bay.
Hello and thanks for watching KORK North Bay TV. Coming up is our weekly wrap covering all the news stories and happenings that took place this past week throughout the greater San Francisco North Bay. This story took place last Friday, but details about it were only released just recently. At about 9:30 in the evening, a couple of people were driving in their car on the south side of Santa Rosa along Moreland Drive and noticed that they were being followed by two people in another car. When they got to the intersection of Moreland Drive and Todd Road, a person in that other car that was following them fired a shot at their car with a handgun. The bullet blew through the rear window of the car and exited out the windshield, just missing the driver. Thankfully, though, as close as that bullet came to the driver, it didn't hit anyone, although the passenger did sustain some injuries from the shattering glass. And then the couple in the other car sped off. The victims called police, who showed up and gathered details. Thanks to some great detective work, they were able to identify the suspects as 20-year-old Crystal Gonzalez and 35-year-old Sean Shanley, who were both residents of Santa Rosa. The next day, on Saturday, deputies from the Sheriff's Department, as well as members of the Sonoma County SWAT team, located Gonzalez and Shanley driving through Santa Rosa, so they headed them off and pinned them in as they made a high-risk stop. At first, the two refused to comply with the commands of the officers, but after a little persuasion of staring down the rifles of the SWAT members, the two decided they'd better comply, so they surrendered and came out of the car. Once they were taken into custody, the next stop was a search warrant being served at their home on the 2100 block of Stony Point Road, where officers located a handgun suspected to be the one used in the shooting. The two were booked into Sonoma County Jail on multiple charges, including attempted murder, conspiracy, and shooting into an occupied vehicle. Shanley was also charged with a felon in possession of a firearm. Both are being held without bail. Investigators say this was an isolated incident and not a random shooting. On Tuesday in the Marin County town of Fairfax, a tragedy happened when a 91-year-old man was struck by a car and killed while crossing the street. This incident took place at about 6:45 in the evening when a man identified as 91-year-old George Pickerainen was crossing Sir Francis Drake Boulevard in the Oak Manor area and was struck by a 22-year-old man from Martinez driving a 2013 Volkswagen Passat. The driver immediately stopped and called 911. Unfortunately, medics who arrived at the scene pronounced Mr. Pickerainen deceased. The unofficial cause of the collision is that the bright sun, which was shining directly into the eyes of drivers heading westbound at around that time, caused the driver to not be able to see very well and tragically struck Mr. Pickerainen while he was crossing the road. From where the location of this tragedy took place, there wasn't a crosswalk. However, there is one at the Oak Manor intersection, but this accident happened just a ways away from that intersection. Mr. Pickerainen, who was affectionately known as Mr. Pick by his students, was a well-known and beloved former biology and chemistry teacher at Terra Linda High School. Our condolences go out to his family. Well, as if things aren't already expensive enough with higher taxes and fees for virtually everything, things are about to get even more expensive for commuters who cross the Golden Gate Bridge, as tolls are set to go up another 50 cents on July 1st. So that means Fast Track users who now pay $9.75 to cross the bridge will now be paying $10.25. People who cross the bridge who don't have Fast Track and just get an invoice mailed to them will now be paying $11.25 to cross that bridge. And carpool rates are increasing to $8.25. But that's not all. Just so you folks who use the ferry boats from Vallejo or Larkspur to the city, or who ride the Golden Gate Transit commuter buses don't feel left out, your fares are also going up on July 1st by about 25 cents as well. Officials say the increase was needed due to the rising costs of maintenance. In Sebastopol, a tragedy took place that took the life of a woman who was accidentally run over by her own truck. This incident took place on Wednesday at about 4:45 in the afternoon when a woman who lives on the western outskirts of Sebastopol on Burnside Road got into her truck to go somewhere, but then got out and walked around to the back side of it as it began to roll backwards down the hill. Her quick instinct was to try to stop the truck from rolling by pushing against it, but it was way too heavy for her to stop, and it knocked her over and rolled over her, causing traumatic internal injuries. She was taken to Santa Rosa Memorial Hospital, but unfortunately, she wasn't able to be saved and passed away from her injuries. Her identity hasn't been released yet. Our condolences go out to her family. On Tuesday during the wee hours of the morning at about 1:45 a.m., a Marin County Sheriff's deputy was traveling southbound down Highway 101 when he spotted a car blasting down the highway at about 100 miles an hour as it passed the Strawberry area. So he sprung into action to pull the car over at the Spencer Avenue exit. When he approached the vehicle, he noticed that the car was riddled with fresh bullet holes, like 14 of them. When he made contact with the driver, the man told the deputy that he was involved in a road rage incident just minutes before up in the Novato area and was shot at by another vehicle, and then suddenly the driver became uncooperative with the deputy, which was a bit strange for someone who was supposedly just the victim of being shot at over a dozen times. The deputy asked the man to step out of the vehicle, but instead of stepping out, the guy threw it in gear and took off at a high rate of speed, so the chase was on. The chase continued at a high rate of speed all the way to the Golden Gate Bridge, where at that point, the deputy called it off for the safety of others on the bridge and at the toll plaza. Not much later, San Francisco PD found the car unoccupied and the driver nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, the Marin County Sheriff's Department were able to identify the driver as 26-year-old Martin Zuniga Jr., a resident of Novato. Later that day, at about 6 o'clock in the evening, Zuniga was spotted by a sheriff's deputy in downtown Novato, and this time was able to get him under arrest. When he was checked for any weapons, a .40 caliber handgun was found on him along with some cocaine. Zuniga was transported to the Marin County Jail and booked on charges of reckless evading, resisting arrest, a felon in possession of a firearm, and several others. On Monday in the town of Lakeport, a woman using the ATM machine at a local bank was assaulted and battered by a man who approached her. This incident took place at about 3:20 in the afternoon while the woman was at the Chase Bank branch located on North Main Street. According to the report, the man walked up to the woman and began battering her, then took off on foot. Lakeport police were called, who showed up and were given a good description of the guy and the direction that he took off in, so they began their search for him. It didn't take long before they spotted a guy matching the description near the intersection of South Main Street and Helena Drive, so they got out and detained the guy. He was identified as Jeff Grimm, a resident of Lakeport. On top of detaining Grimm for questioning about the battery incident, the officers also noticed that Mr. Grimm was showing signs of being under the influence of alcohol, so he was taken into custody and booked into the Lake County Jail on charges of battery, disorderly conduct, and public intoxication. On Wednesday night near the town of Lakeport, a tragic solo vehicle crash injured 3 little children and the driver. Unfortunately, this crash also proved to be fatal for an adult passenger. This incident took place right after 10 o'clock at night on Highway 29 near the 11th Street exit, where a car driven by 22-year-old Eileen Fred, a resident of Lakeport, was heading northbound on the highway and went off the shoulder, causing the car to overturn. 3 small children riding in the vehicle were injured. 2 of them, ages 4 and 5, were flown by helicopter to UC Davis for critical treatment, and the other, an 8-year-old, was transported by ground ambulance to a local hospital. Tragically, an adult passenger identified as 28-year-old Destiny Jones, a resident of Clear Lake, was pronounced deceased at the scene. The driver, Eileen Fred, was also injured and transported to a local hospital, where after she received treatment, she was arrested for being under the influence of alcohol. She was booked into the Lake County Jail on charges of felony DUI and felony child abuse, with a bail set at $85,000. This broadcast is sponsored by Mike Larbury Automotive. 5-star ratings for all of your domestic and import automotive repair needs, located on Highway 12 in Sonoma. Mention you saw them here on KORK TV to receive a special discount. And also by Sonoma Paint Center, your source for all of your home and automotive paint and supply needs.
Transform your home or business with Sonoma Paint Center. As your local Benjamin Moore retailer, we've got everything you need to paint inside and out, plus top quality stains. Step inside our Santa Rosa location or visit us in Sonoma, Sebastopol, and now our newest location in Napa. From vibrant colors to durable finishes and required supplies, we'll help you bring your vision to life. Sonoma Paint Center, serving you in Santa Rosa, Sonoma, Sebastopol, and now Napa. Sonoma Paint Center, color your world.
Well, that's it for our weekly wrap. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We'll see you again on Monday for our weekend wrap. Remember, you can watch us on our website at KORKTV.com, or you can also watch us on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, or on our new YouTube channel. In any of those platforms, just search for KORK North Bay TV and add our channel to your favorites. We'd sure appreciate it. We'd like to wish everyone a safe, healthy, and happy weekend. Thanks for watching.